I think a lot of people focus in on what other people are doing versus like what I'm doing. I don't care what my competition's doing. I'm going to do the best I can. If they beat me, great. I got no problem with my competition. I love my competitors. We've done deals together. Some of my closest friends are in real estate. And
that's
we don't have to hate. We don't have to hate.
No, I think that's...
what do they call it? Participate. We can participate. We don't have to hate.
To me, like right there, that's what sets you apart. Being able to take that mindset of like, there's enough to go around for everyone.
For sure.
If you're able to leverage those relationships for you, like don't create enemies where you don't have to.
Yeah,
there's enough to go around. Like if there's a deal that he can't do in your area, he can give it to you. You can give it to him, and creating those connections and creating that network, it's way more of an advantage to you than it is to stick your feet in the ground and make everybody an enemy.
Welcome back to the Piece of Grit podcast. Today, guys, we have something special. We have somebody who, in their career, in one of the hardest industries in the world, in my opinion, especially in one of the most competitive spaces in Southwest Florida, has done $1.9 billion in personal sales. Joe Pavich, what is going on?
Jamie, what's up, guys? Mike, hey, man. You know, it's funny to hear those numbers because it doesn't feel like that. It's just every day I'm hustling. You know, you get up and you work every single day, and over a 25-year period, you go, wow, I guess I have sold that much real estate. But I mean, are you ever really happy with what you do? You're always achieving to be more, right?
What does a day in the life look like with that volume? Because if you're doing the math, 1.9 over 25 years is a lot of real estate every single year that you're selling. This podcast is all about helping the younger generation, the younger entrepreneurs, young high performers. Everybody goes into a stage, and I bet you were at this stage when you were young. You're trying to figure out what to do. It's not about doing. Like, I think if you're good, you'll always do, but it's about the what behind it. So what does your day-to-day look like?
Day-to-day is a little crazy. I got to tell you that. You know, it was crazy before kids. So I have 3 kids now. They're 14, 12, and 10. One just turned 10 yesterday.
Hell yeah. Congratulations.
My boy Jakey.
Happy birthday.
My boy Jakey.
Double digits.
So he's got swag, you know.
Okay.
Today, so you know, swag and drip now. That's
Oh, you're in it. You're in it.
So I told my wife this morning, I said, he's got some swag. And she said, he's got drip. I said, there's a difference.
What's the difference?
Drip is when you wear some drip, right? You know, your pants, the shirt. I said, but swag is how you wear it.
Oh,
okay.
So he's got the walk, man. He's cool.
You got a drippy watch on right now.
I got the little drip going today, guys. Got the little, you know, something.
But then the whole way that you walked in here, that's the swag.
That's the swag.
That's how you carry it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So day to day, you're waking up like around what time?
So alarm is set for 5 o'clock. I get up, I grab a coffee right away, I'm ready, and I'm out the door at 5:15. The old Joe would wait about an hour and watch TV. You know, you sit on the couch, watch Today Show, the whole 9 yards, and then you kind of get stuck there because you start swiping and everything else, and it's not good for me. So coffee on the road right to the gym. I'm in the gym. I got it down to a science, by the way. You're laughing. So I actually work out from about 5:30 until 6:15. Roughly 45 minutes. And I go pretty good. Yeah. And by the time I get home, it's about 6:25. And my son's alarm starts to go off at 6:25. And I give it like a little pound. Hey, man, time to get up. Let's go. And I get him up. I jump in the shower and I'm ready to go. I take him to school. And by 7:45, I mean, I'm ready. Already worked out, already had a cup, usually maybe even 2 cups of coffee.
Definitely 2.
And I'm ready to go. You know, it's a crazy world, but the phone starts ringing early, and I tend to do a lot of breakfast and stuff with clients or coffees if they want to meet with me. I go, hey, how about 8:15? And they go, okay, you up that early? I'm like, up that early? I've done more by 8 o'clock than most people.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm so driven in the way I like to do things. I like to just make it happen. Get on the phone and call people. You know, you kind of look at your calendar and it's kind of like a gauge of how busy you are. And if the calendar's not full, you know,
it's time to get busy. It's time to get busy.
You're not making it happen. So,
and you have 75 properties right now that you're managing.
Yes.
That's
listings.
insane.
Yes.
That's insane. So what is the day to day from that? Because in real estate, it's every day is a new day. Like you're always doing different things. Do you have a cadence to like, Monday I dedicate towards this, Tuesday, or is it all just as it comes in?
As it comes in. a lot of clients say to me, Joe, 75 listings, that's a lot. I don't know if I want to, hire you because it just seems like you have so much. It seems like a lot, and it is, don't get me wrong, but I can manage it because I have a team of I got 4 full-time assistants that help me navigate on a day-to-day basis. So, the old Joe, 25 years ago, I'd get a listing, I'd go home, I would start typing it, getting it ready in the MLS, which takes some time, an hour or two, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, come up with a creative description. This house is a must see.
Yeah.
Open floor plans, split bedrooms, all this stuff, right? I haven't done that in 15 years probably. So my girls are so good. They have it down to it. They're better than I am when it comes to all the technical stuff. I mean, they do everything for me. That way I can be out with buyers and sellers all day, making it happen.
Yeah.
There's listings that require more maintenance. Some are easy to show. They're on lockbox, and others I have to be there. So what happens is my team fields the calls and they throw it on my calendar. So like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, today's an easy day. And then all of a sudden I look back at my phone and it's like, it looks like a Christmas tree. It's like, oh man, I don't know if it's going to be too easy of a day. It's
what goes into like having 75 listings? Like I'd imagine the maintenance is crazy itself, but what is it like managing 75 people's houses? Like you have to deal with the people themselves in a bad market, a bad economy, a bad real estate market. How do you handle dealing with so many people at once?
Well, it's all about, expectations. So like every client's different, right? Some are, they want to talk to you every week. Others, they'll say, Joe, I trust you, do your thing and call me when I have an offer, which I like those. I like those people. But I tend to just give them a call. And it's kind of weird because I don't even have to put them in my calendar to call, to call these clients. It's just almost like I know, you know what I mean? Like an alarm goes off in my head and I go, I got to give Mike a call. I haven't talked to Mike in 2 weeks. He's going to get pissed off if I don't call him. So it's like an alarm that goes off in my head and I just know I have to give those people a call. But it's kind of cool because it's like right now it's season, or coming into season. So it's like, if you're going to make a move on a listing and drop the price, it's not even Christmas yet. So you got to be careful because I'm all about days on the market, how long something's listed for. If it's listed for a year, that's too long. Buyers' first questions when they come in is, hey, Joe, how long is it on the market? They don't even ask the price. How long is it on the market? So we try to work every listing to a point where they don't accumulate those days in the market. Like I have like probably 10 listings that are coming up on the market now in season. I'll have even more than 75. Hopefully 75 sell.
Yeah.
And I only have 10 for season. That would be phenomenal. Yeah. But those listings come up and it's like, we're not putting them up today. We're going to wait until I'm ready for you. And they go, Joe, do your thing.
What's like how long before you're like, shit, like this isn't going well? Like, is it a few months, 6 months? Like before you hit to the point where you're like, we got to change things up. Maybe this house isn't going to sell. Like when do you start to get worried? Well,
it's interesting in real estate because it's almost like within the first 3 weeks. And I tell a client, I can tell you within 3 weeks how long it's going to be on the market for. And I did that for a while. I actually wrote it down like in my Gmail or something like, hey, my prediction is that's going to take, 8 months with 2 reductions of the price. And I'm usually pretty correct because you just kind of know. Like new listings are so cool because everybody gets an alert. Everybody on Zillow, Realtor.com, my website, the MLS. It's crazy if you know the way the systems work. It's like if I'm working with you, Mike, and you're looking at properties and you're on my website, and a new listing comes up, you get that, right? But think of all the agents and all the people that get on there themselves. I mean, if you don't get list showings within the first 3 weeks, it's not a good sign. It's not a good start.
I'm curious. I love the service industries. Obviously, we're in the service industry because it's so people oriented. Like I get so much energy from talking with people constantly and having those back and forths. But with working with people are inherently irrational. They have irrational tendencies. It's just once you get into service enough, you start to understand people in that sense.
Yeah.
You're working with people on some of their biggest transactions of their life. So irrationality, I imagine, is at its peak. How do you mentally deal with it as a person, but then how do you relate and how do you work with people that are in irrational states?
So when you first start, you take them all, right? You just want every listing you can possibly get. And as time goes on, those couple of irrational people that don't really want to rely on you or trust you to guide them through the process, it's like you don't really want those. You want the relationship, right? Where people trust me. And I'm getting more of that now because the market isn't the greatest, right? They want someone that can really help them along. So right now I'm getting some, all my listings are pretty solid for the most part, but you just don't want those irrational ones. And you can kind of tell when you first start talking to them in the beginning, because you could just tell, and the way that they react with you, the way you price a property, your thoughts of pricing, how they respond to it. And my thought is when I go into a listing, if I feel like there's a relationship there, we're good. Shake hands, work as a team, get it done. I just don't want the ones that are really irrational, because it's just going to sit there.
What does an irrational seller look like?
A rational seller would be one that doesn't want you to guide them through the process. It's their price, it's their terms, it's their commission, it's their their showing requirements. Like a rational seller would look like this. Mike, what do you think my house is worth? $1 million? $1 million. Okay, I want 1.2. How long is your listing agreement for? 6 months. I want 2 months. Okay, we're starting to get there. We're starting to get there. Are you going to be here for all my showings? You would say, I'm going to try to be. However, if I get a short minute notice, I might not be able to. I want you here every time. I'm okay with that one there. Commission, what's your commission? That's always a big question, right? Well, our commission is X. Well, we want to pay you this, right? Which allows me not to be able to pay the other broker enough to get them in the door. So, those types of things, right? A lot of staging is fine. However, people that don't want you to make any changes whatsoever, and you need to, they won't let you. Hey, let's paint this wall that's crazy, just a nice neutral color, and it's those types of things. I just gave a couple, but you can come with me. We'll do a training day. Denzel Washington, you guys seen Training Day, right?
Great movie.
I ought to get you guys with me one day. You can see what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's crazy.
I know we were talking a little bit off camera, like you got into real estate 2001, like before it was popular, because I feel like now anybody that doesn't know what they want to do, start doing real estate.
That's right, yeah.
And you started it way long before it was a thing. Like, how have you seen it change? Like, and honestly, what made you get into real estate to begin with?
So I used to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, white shirt, tie, corporate ladder. I mean, people said that Joe was going to be with Enterprise for his whole life, right? Because I loved it. And Enterprise taught me a lot. Corporate ladder, young people, you learn how to manage a business. You can delegate duties. They allow you to pretty much, do your thing. So my dad had his real estate license in like 97. And like in 2001, he says, hey, you should get your license. And I thought, I'll look into it. All of a sudden I did. And I went to Enterprise to put my notice in. And they were like, you're going to quit Enterprise to sell real estate? Like, who sells real estate? and I kind of thought, yeah, no one. And I hope it works. And I said, if it doesn't, can I come back? And they said, absolutely. But it worked. And it worked pretty quickly too.
What do you think lended you to being able to get in the business and get rolling right out of the gate?
Well, in the beginning, I got to admit, my dad in the beginning, he wouldn't let me fail in the beginning, right? But it was so much different then because I was 20-something years old. I didn't have hardly any bills. I didn't have kids. I didn't really have a mortgage. I didn't have a lot, right? So, if I made, a fraction of what I made at Enterprise, I was still okay. So, I'm kind of wired to just kind of go. And I just made it happen, over like maybe after the first 6 months to a year, I started to get my name out there to where my father would pick up the phone and they would say, is this Joe? And he would say, yeah. And he would say, this doesn't sound like Joe. I think the other Joe's a younger guy, right? Which kind of made me feel good.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you don't want to be in the shadows, right? You want to kind of be your own self. And I hope my kids do the same thing in real estate too. They kind of do their own thing, right?
Is your 14-year-old in real estate right now?
He wants to be.
Because I saw a podcast with you and your dad. Yeah, you, your dad, and your...
And he will. I believe he will. But it's so interesting though, because you just don't know what's going to work until you're like a year or two in and you're like, hey man, I kind of got this. But back then was so different though, because there wasn't websites, there wasn't Zillow, Realtor.com. we literally got a book and it had all the listings for sale. And it was probably about that big because there's only about 600 homes, 700 homes, maybe 1,000 homes in Estero. The book was about that big. And every day we get a fax. You guys know what a fax machine is, by the way?
I know what it is.
So we'd hear like a beep and all of a sudden this paper would come out, new listing, and it would be a new listing that came up. Now it's just so much different. But, you know, in real estate, you have your old school realtors, right? Like my dad. He's old school. He's not techie. You know, all this new stuff and Matterport and barcodes and all this. He doesn't really do that. He's a word of mouth, shake my hand, get the deal done kind of a guy. The new generation is very much like very techie, right? They rely on technology to kind of do all the things. They don't answer the phone. They don't pick up the phone. They kind of let it try to run itself. So to find an agent in the middle that knows both is rare. I kind of think it's pretty rare for me at my age to have both.
Because we're obsessed with personal branding, like especially, you know, we're in the new age, like we're constantly running up against the wall of like what is truly new in terms of the personal branding space. I'd be curious to, how did you establish your personal brand in 2000, you know, let's just say the 2000s. Estero hadn't really hit its stride. It's not the number one growing community like it is now with Fort Myers and all that.
Sure.
How did you establish your personal brand?
So what I started to do was, business is weird because I started off in 01. I did, pretty good. Maybe I sold $1.5 million in sales my first year. The second was like maybe 3, 5, 7, kind of went like that, right? Like a snowball. And in 2006 and 7, things started getting weird. The market started to go down big time, right? Everybody's buying properties, refinancing, and buying multiple properties. And I really wanted to get like one big deal to work with a client because I felt like that'd be my step into, oh my God, I had $1 million sale. Like, that's pretty cool, So I remember in 07, I had one sale for $1 million. And that was my biggest sale at that point. Nowadays, agents' first deals are $2 million.
Yeah.
But back
different home prices now.
So back then, $1 million deal. And I took it all the commission I made, and I spent it all on marketing in a down market where nobody could probably really help me because everybody's trying to swim towards the shore at that point. So I spent it all in marketing. I got a billboard, first billboard,
Is that still the same billboard you have?
Same billboard, yeah.
Wow.
So how long is that? How long?
Yeah, it's 17 years.
Are you ever going to give it up?
Heck no.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you have two now,
Well,
right?
one of it burned down actually, one of them.
No shit.
There was a house that burned down right below a billboard. So if it would have burned down, it would have been down forever, that billboard, because it's been there for a long time.
Is that
and
the
I think
one-
they wanted to reuse that space for something else.
Is that the one that's near like the RV park on the
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I see that billboard every single day.
Well, that's actually how, like, it's so funny to be able to sit and podcast. Like us 3 years ago, we just saw we saw your face every
Every day.
single day. And even this morning, we're on our way to the podcast, passing by, like, that name recognition, especially in 2007, a down market, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Because was that the number one way to market yourself at that point?
It really was, because they would drive by and see you, right? And then top of mind, oh, I see him. But then I said, if I'm going to get one going north, I got to get one going south. So I have both sides of that one billboard.
Yep.
Because if they're going north or south, now you can't miss me.
Yeah, you can't get away.
Every time I drive to work, I see you. Every time I drive home,
Yeah.
I see you. Every day.
Branding and marketing is really one of my specialties. Word of mouth is huge, right? I mean, I'm a handshake kind of guy. I'm a normal guy, and I know how to market. I know how to market properties. I know how to price them. That's the key. You got to price them right too. And it's interesting in real estate because you want to go in to a listing and they want to hear a price. They have a number in mind, right? They want to hear it, right? And if they meet with 3 people, they're going to hear a low, a medium, and a high. The high is attractive because they wonder if that agent's lying to them or if it's just some number that they know they can get. So, you want to tell them a number that you feel like you could really get. However, you want to get the listing too. So it's very difficult. It's not easy because, and sometimes you're sitting down with them and a lot of agents will tell them what they want to hear, get the listing, drop the price. So, sometimes people say my price, it seems a little bit low. And then all of a sudden, somebody else gets the listing and then they get way less. way less because it took a year.
Yep.
Days on the market. The longer it sits, the less you're going to get. You know, that's the.
And why is that? Just because like people, you see it's been on the market for 100 days, like there's got to be some reason somebody didn't buy it.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, it's like when anything's there and nobody wants it, they
Like
kind of wonder, like, I wonder if something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
It could be anything. You know, a car on the lot, a watch in a window. When it sits there, people wonder, I wonder what's wrong with this thing.
Yeah. And it seems like when you started real estate, like early 2000s, there was less competition, but you didn't have the tools that you have now. You didn't have the marketing opportunities you have now. And now there's so much competition, but you do have all these tools and ways to separate yourself. What do you think is the harder path? Like to do it when you started or to get into it now?
When I started, would have been a lot easier, I believe, than starting in today. You know, today there's 14,000 realtors, right? That's a big number.
That's crazy.
There was
How
about
many are in
20
this
when
area?
I started.
How many in this area alone?
Well, Stero, Bonita, Naples, Fort Myers, 20,000. Marco, Sanibel, Captiva.
It's crazy.
Punta Gorda. Yeah.
And
But
like,
it's a lot.
What percentage do you think are, because like in any industry, there's like the top producers, there's your average guys, and there's just a revolving door of people. It's just in any industry across the board. How in real estate, how much percentage do you think it's those people that just get their license to get it and then just don't do anything?
So there is a rule that they would say that that basically 10% of the agents make 90% of the money. That was kind of always a rule. And I feel like it might even be less than that now. I think it might be, well, during COVID, that all changed because anybody could sell a house, right? Everybody was selling a lot. Right?
Everybody was having record years.
Yeah. But now I would say it might be more like 5% of the realtors make 95% of the money in these types of markets.
And to be one of those 5%, like I know you and I know you know Mike and other real estate agents that we know that are like super successful. It seems like they've been attacking the same market, the same place for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to get to that point? Like you have to be relentless for forever and get your name out there.
You do.
Yeah.
And it's crazy is that in real estate, you got to keep deals coming. So I averaged about a deal every 3 days for decades.
That's
real estate.
crazy. I did real estate for 2 years. Again, I'm the revolving door guy that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I know that's an insane stat.
Every 3 days.
Every 3 days. Yeah. So that was 100 something homes a year. Some years it might fluctuate, one every 4 days, 5 days, 2 days. But yeah, I mean, I never got to 1 and 2 days, but it's a lot. And the thing is though, the market goes up and down. And that's the hardest part because when it's going flying great, you take more risks when it's going really great, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden it starts going real bad. And then you have all this stuff, right?
Well, that's
and then it's scary. I mean, it's a little scary right now too, because you make money in the good times. And when it becomes bad right now, you start to spend a lot of your own money to keep things going. 5 billboards, television commercials, postcards, marketing, assistants, a team, pictures, photography. Think about that. Think about when I list a property, you spend $1,000 on photos, video, postcards. If it's a high property, magazine cover, you could spend $5,000. And if it doesn't sell, you're in the hole.
cost. Yeah.
It's gone.
And
it's hard. It's a tough thing.
How do you balance? Because I talk to so many people, and actually that's the number one thing that I've seen. I'm obsessed with this idea of how do you survive? Because I don't think that I think business is a snowball. I think the more years you can play the game, the more likely you're going to be successful. But like anything, 5 years in, I think 80% of businesses fail.
Yeah.
At least 80%. And I think it comes down to this: how do you manage good times, and then how do you manage bad times?
Yeah.
We're obsessed with this offensive and defensive mindset.
That's right.
And you can stay stuck in a defensive mindset and stagnate.
Yeah.
Or you can be too offensive, and then when the
Your fulfillment.
ocean goes out, when the money's not there,
And the tide goes out. Yeah.
you're caught with your pants down.
That's
So
right.
how have you managed that throughout your career? Because you're saying 2007, you get your first deal, and you're like, marketing.
That's right.
That's crazy
Yeah.
decision to make at that point.
I know. It really was. And I look back, and I think a lot of it is drive, number one. Marketing and drive are two good factors. Fear would be number 3 for me, because I would see agents out there when I was younger, and I have articles in the paper. They're yellow because I've had them for 25, 30 years. It looks good, it's old, right? But you'd see agents out there that were the big dogs. I mean, they were selling everything. I would look at them and go, I'd love to sell as much as this guy right here, right? And then 5 years later, you wouldn't see them anymore in the papers and doing magazine articles and stuff. And I think that they felt like they just had it. And it was always scared me, because I'm like, if I stop doing what I'm doing, I could lose all of it. And it just drive, fear driven, motivation, marketing,
but
crazy.
Then fear, right? Because fear can be your best asset, and it also could be your biggest crutch. Because most people, let's say they go through a down market, like most real estate agents that I know in the market that we're in, wait until a 2020, I don't know if 2020 will ever be replicated, but wait until that comes in. Now everybody's knocking down our door. Hey, we want to go all in on marketing now. But the best real estate agents that I've seen are the ones that have hit us up in the last few years. Yeah. They're like, look, I know right now is the opportunity. People aren't, if you were a half-assed real estate agent, you're out of the market now. Now it's time to double down and go all in. So how do you manage the fear of playing smart so that you don't get totally wiped out, but also playing aggressive enough to where you can stay top of mind? You can be on every billboard, on the way from Estero to Naples. How do you do that?
No, I wanted to get Naples too, but they don't have billboards.
Interesting.
I kind of wanted that though. I thought it'd be a kind of a nice addition. But it's interesting because you don't want to do too much either. But there's core things that you have to do, right? For me, billboards are that's a must, right? Commercials, that's a must. The amount of how I market a property, pictures, drone, video, that's a must, right? Because that's clients, and these two are me, right? So the more I develop a brand, the more my phone rings and the more things I can do. They're going to look on my website and look at everything. So you got to keep those things moving, right? A team, absolute must. That is an absolute must. So I pretty much do all the things I do in a good market and in a bad market the same. However, when the market's bad, guys, you get the, podcast, I got the social media. So
what was the mindset for that? Like what set that up?
Every time the market gets bad, I try something new.
That's awesome.
To just stand out more, right? People would say to me, because a lot of times people would see billboards and stuff and say like, oh, maybe he's a pretty serious guy. He may not be a normal guy. Maybe he only takes high-end listing. I've heard it all. I don't want to work with Joe because I don't think he'll work with me on my home. It's so not the case. So I started thinking, if I could show my personality more on social media, get a podcast, do more videos, get more likes, views, collaborate with people, I'll be better off. And it's worked. Yeah. I'm here with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I know so you're doing commercials. Do you see yourself, because we see a shift of people watching less TV, moving more to the podcast, to the YouTube, to the Instagram. Do you see yourself kind of cutting out commercials eventually and going all in on this podcast?
I don't think so because the commercials everybody's different, right? You get your newspaper people, you get your news, weather channel, you have the morning news. Not everybody watches that, but most people do. Not most, but depends on time of the day too.
Buyers and sellers for this specific area, it's like the perfect.
Yeah, because not everybody gets on YouTube and social media. Right. But it's so weird though with marketing because you look at what I do and you say, if I put a home here, that's going to be huge. But my buyer might not be looking there. They might be looking here. They might be on social media. They might be on YouTube. They might be searching for an agent and they get on YouTube. They might get on Zillow. They might just get on Google. So analytics, having your site pop up first, pay-per-click and organic search and YouTube organic search and keywords. So it's crazy. I mean,
you're dialed in.
And so being that you have so many listings going at a time and every house is different. like, do you ever look at a house and be like, this is like a different marketing strategy per the house? Like, you think,
For sure.
okay, I see this house, I think this is a house that a first-time home buyer will buy, a young couple. And do you market that house differently than you?
Absolutely. Yes, I do. Yeah. Seasonal homes versus like full-time homes, it's a different marketing strategy. It's kind of all the same in a sense, like you're putting it out to the same people, but my target market might be different. My target market for a seasonal home, like Mediterra or Gray Oaks or Quail West, West Bay Club, Shadowwood. I want to keep going, Bonita Bay, the Renaissance, whatever.
Guy knows the area.
That you're going to want to target more towards people up north. But if I list a home in January or February, they might be here because they're seasonal. But if I list it in November, they might not be here. So I got to market back home. So we just do. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
What keeps you? You seem to be very creative in nature. Obviously, we've seen your YouTube content up to this point, and just like your marketing in general, it seems like that's something. Even you said it on the podcast. That's one of your favorites. What do you think keeps you around the game and obsessed with the game as much? Is it the deals? Like the creativity behind the deals, the creativity behind each marketing strategy. What keeps that engine going?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I would say, just being out there, being on video, being in all these areas is fun for me. I like doing it. I like kind of bringing some of those billboards to life a little bit by have people go, oh yeah, I've seen him there. And he's a normal guy. Because you got to be a normal. You got to just be cool. Just be cool.
Just be cool.
Joe, you got to be cool like Joe. You got to be cool like Mike.
Yeah, you got to be cool like Mike.
I don't, not to circle back too much, but I did want to ask you. So you got into real estate in 2001, you sold your big sale 2007, and then everything crashed.
Yeah.
Like 2008, the market crashed for a long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time to recover. How did you just survive through those years to get to the Joe Pavich that we know now?
Did you have a sales decline when that market
I did.
shifted? Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. It was a grind for sure. In every good story, it's not always like, oh, he just sold this much forever, right? Because from 7 to that was a tough time.
Yeah.
So me and my wife Jen, we didn't have any kids yet. We were engaged in 2007. We got married in 2008, and we were buying a house. We were building a home in West Bay Club, kind of a big home. It's on a golf course, and we had all these other properties, and we thought we'll just take all these homes, and we'll just sell them all. We'll get this new home here, and because the market was going crazy, right? Right in the middle of our build, things went down big time. And I kind of caught it a little bit early, and I started selling stuff. Boom, boom. I started just getting rid of stuff. And we ended up getting rid of everything, and their home was built, and we had nothing to sell. So I got rid of everything pretty quickly. But, you're paying as much as you can for everything, mortgages and real estate and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, at the end of the day, you don't have anything left over. But I got through it. Barely.
That's
Barely.
so crazy.
It was scary.
I
had a bunch of properties too.
Because that's the story that I heard from everybody with that time is everybody, because real estate was popping, like they were trading them like they're trading meme coins now. Like you're just flipping houses and it's all paper money that's getting pushed into this. And you lose this psychological association to, I am over leveraged by this much, because you're always in this, like, I got to stick with it. Why was that the mindset then? And have you seen it come back? Like, was it back in 2020 for a little bit, or do you ever think we'll get back to that climate?
Right now it's a little similar in a sense to how it wasn't. Just a mini version that lasted 7 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
This is going to last. I mean, I think we're 30%, 40% through what we're through right now, of homes just kind of sitting longer. And that's a lot of it's interest rate driven. Inventory spiked up. COVID drove everything up, 40% in like a year, right? So it's just kind of correcting itself now, but it'll be a good market. But I'm kind of glad I went through the rough times, though. I mean, you have to go through the rough times to appreciate the good times. I wouldn't change that tough time. It was tough. I mean, at the end of the year, at the end of the day, there was times where you're sweating, but I wouldn't have changed it, for anything.
Another question in terms of your brand is so associated to who you are. And so there's ways that you can invest into your business, but there's also something I talk to real estate agents, entrepreneurs, business builders, people that have like an uncapped earning potential, they have this different relationship with money management. And I'm obsessed about this idea because money management in that time, do you find yourself just managing your money through real estate because that's what you know, or do you have a financial advisor? Like, how do you do that?
I do. I have both. And I try to even go a little further. You know, I tried to do what you guys do with the crypto and all this stuff.
Not me, man.
That stuff goes right away.
Yeah.
You say meme coin to me.
Oh man.
That mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want to be as diversified as you can, right? You know, have a little bit in real estate, you know, have some money, have some retirement. It'd be good to have a couple individual stocks. You try to have all this stuff done. And I've dabbled a little bit in the crypto stuff, but you know, it is definitely over my head for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into mining and everything else, it's insane.
I just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But I in real estate though, I would say that my financial advisors have said to me over the years, like, you're probably a little bit real estate heavy, but it's what I know. And I know that what I have is going to grow at some, you know, it's not growing right now, but
yeah,
you know, it will at some point.
You don't hold it for cash flow. You hold it for appreciation.
Some of it. Yeah. Yeah. Some for cash flow, some for, you know, future values. There's a fine line too, between the two, right? You get a property that might not be worth a ton later, but it's generating cash flow now.
How do you manage? Do you set up LLCs for separate houses and then have that cash flow be its own LLC? So that way, if there's maintenance or whatever, you have that ready to deploy. Like, what is, I guess this is a overarching question, but like if you invest into asset, let's call it $1 million house, and it's cash flowing you a certain percentage, when do you start saying, I'm starting to take dividends with this versus when am I going to just keep that money in there for an oh shit moment?
You know, it's everybody's different, right? That my CPA is calling me right now. Let's ask him. No. Everybody's different. You know, it depends on the way things are set up with the trust and how they handle it. I mean, I guess if it's your primary home, it really could be in your name because nobody could take away your primary home. Different properties, I guess, technically could be LLCs, but there's different tax ramifications for an LLC versus, like, you know, I have some properties in LLCs as well, and they're hard to get insurance on LLCs if you have a home.
I didn't know.
It's harder. It's not hard. It's harder.
Does it cost
the rates
more?
are higher. There's less companies that want those because they wonder if there's a risk involved. Like we have a horse property that's under an LLC, and there's no horses out there, but it's got 15 acres.
Damn.
You should get a couple horses.
Yeah. We do have one actually, not there, but they don't want to really give insurance at any reasonable price. It's high because they see an LLC.
True.
But it's all different.
As a real estate expert, to two guys in their young mid to 20s, you know, and to anyone that's listening, like, what's the smartest way to start investing in real estate? Like, where do you get started in a market like today?
Well, the most important thing is to look at the time that we're in, right? The rates, the inventory. Like right now is probably a good time to buy because you could probably get a little bit of a better deal. You know, inventory is higher. It's a fact. However, the rates are still pretty high too. So it's like you can buy a home, however, it'll cost you more even though the price is less. So you have to be careful, you know, and hopefully the rates will start to come down to where if you did buy a home at a really low price with a high interest rate, you could refinance the home in a year, get a lower rate, and now you get a low price too. So it all depends. But it's so important to talk to people, talk to a guy. I got a guy for you guys to talk about real estate.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty cool. Yeah, he's a cool guy, yeah. But it's so important to talk to somebody that knows the market because, like, for example, and I always talk in a lot of my videos about if you're going to hire someone, you want to hire someone that knows what type of product that you're looking for. Because if they specialize in homes that are golf course communities for $5 million and up, and that's all they do, you're looking to spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. You know, you want someone that specializes in that market, that knows how much it will rent for, what the association fees are, if there's anything coming up, if there's any assessments, if there's a building getting built right behind it. You got to find these things out. So the most important thing is just to find out more information about what you're looking for and hire someone that knows that market.
I feel like over the last few years, like we've seen a rise in like people buying into duplexes, like low income housing, like federal housing. Are you in on all that? Like, is buying a duplex the way to go? Living it for a year, renting out like the safe way? Like, where would you start if you're gonna buy your first investment property in real estate? You're Joe Pavich again now, but you're 25. What are you buying?
So I like low HOA communities that have some HOA, but low, in the 1,800 to 2,300 square foot range was kind of what I like personally, because it's in a gate. It's kind of mandated by a board, right? That can keep an eye on grass, height, and, the whole process. I don't want to go over with that stuff. I'll give you a copy of what some of them look like, and you go to sleep for sure.
That's what they pay you for,
but
right?
That's a good option there to something you can actually use, and something that you could eventually upsize, get something bigger, but keep that.
Yep.
Rent that out. I like that the best.
Okay.
Buy a home that's 1,700 square foot, rent it out, buy something bigger later. And at least you have this still. Duplexes are good too. Depends. I mean, you're not getting the types of rent you were 5 years ago, where you're getting like $1,800 a side. This side pays for that side. But then eventually you'll need to do work to those as well to bring them up to par to now sell them for a profit. So something people don't look at is like repairs, for example, repairs on roof, repairs on the landscaping, the kitchen, the floors. You can lease one out and you're going to cash flow, but when you go to sell it, you're going to have to put money back into it
to get it
to make it
up to standard.
Up to par.
Yeah. So then,
and they look at investment rates on duplexes. A lot of the buyers do. So it's factored into almost what rents would go for to know what the value would be, in a sense.
I get you.
Like if you're getting $1,000 a month, you're not getting $2 million for the property. You're not getting, that's that type of return for an investor. He's not going to want that.
So then, pivoting the conversation back to like our whole audience is just hungry young 20-year-olds, and you found something that you loved early in life.
Yeah.
How did you not let that? It has to be an obsession. To be successful at anything, you have to be obsessive. But I find this very interesting dichotomy between being obsessive and then being uninteresting. Like we were talking off the podcast about vices, and we kind of made a joke where it's like, most people won't trust you if you don't have some kind of vice, because it's like this relatability factor. So I'd be interested, how did you early in your career make yourself inherently interesting enough to hold conversations, to meet people, to people want to talk to you when it's not necessarily like maybe the conversation pivots off real estate for half a second? Explain that.
So our family, we're Italian, Yugoslavian.
Let's go.
Well.
I didn't know that.
We're
I'm glad to know
talkers.
that. We got another
talking
Italian
was not a problem. My family, my dad, my mom, my brother, my uncles, they'd come over and nobody would sit down.
Yep.
They stand and they talk for hours, just standing. It's like
2 o'clock in the morning.
Can we sit and talk? So people skills were literally ingrained in my brain. It's like this podcast that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's like I'm talking again after I talk all day. I'm talking to people for another hour, and I'm meeting with several people. But it's just fun for me to get to know people. So I think you genuinely have to have an interest in people to do what we do, because you're just working with people. If I had I'm just going to say a landscaping company or any company, a pool company, right? You can develop those relationships, and if you become successful at whatever you do, you just meet people, right? It could turn into whatever you want to turn it into. If you're unhappy and you're working for a pool company, you hate it, or you're a mortgage broker and you hate it, and you're meeting people. These are relationships. So if I decided to do anything else, I've developed a lot of relationships with people to call on them to help me and help each other with whatever we do. It's all about people, people skills.
Yep.
It's what it's all about.
Because it's interesting. There is this massive amount of focus that is required to become successful at literally anything. But being able to be focused and then have an aspect of your personality, like we think about it being in our 20s, I would love to get into rooms and gain respect through what I've built.
Yeah.
Like I love the idea of being known for what you built versus who you are.
Yeah.
Personally, that's just my personal. But that takes a long time.
Yeah.
To be like, the reason I have so much respect for you is because you've been in it for 20 some odd years. That is a level of endurance. That is a level of dedication, and that's a level of just strategic smarts to be able to survive that long. That inherently makes you interesting in conversations. The reason why we do our races is because we found like that's our way to circumvent it, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't push the business to grow at any faster of a rate than we want to if we don't want to take on the Karens, you know what I mean? The people that are making you insane.
Was it Ken and Karens or something?
Exactly. But so I guess the question wrapped into that little monologue was, in your opinion, when did you find outside of real estate something that you could bring to the table that was, whether it was your people skills, whether it was, you know, golfing, some sort of outside thing that you brought in as a competitive advantage?
Well, it's interesting when I hear you talk, because I look at you guys and I say you have a really great thing going, right? I mean, your business, you're driven. We talked about you taking on the world, right? Mm-hmm. Joe versus the volcano, you know. You want to take on the world, right? Take everybody you can get, and all of a sudden, you know, you run into those things, the same problems that we run into, right? It's like you realize, I don't know if I want to take on the world. I want to do what we do, get the best people that we can get, and work together and get it done. So, you know, you look at me and I look at you, and you look at me going, what is this guy doing? And I'm looking at you guys, and like, I'm proud of you guys because you have a great thing going.
I appreciate that.
And it's like, I think a lot of people focus in on, you know, so much of like what other people are doing versus like what I'm doing, right? I don't care what my competition's doing. I'm going to do the best I can. If they beat me, great, because I love my I got no problem with my competition. I love my competitors. We're all friends. We all talk on the phone.
Why do you love your competitors?
Because we're friends. You know, we've done deals together. Some of my closest friends are in real estate, and
that's, you know,
so we don't
backwards.
have to hate. We don't have to hate.
No, I think that's...
what do they call it? Participate. We could participate. We don't have to hate.
Yeah, I just think that's to me, like right there, that's what sets you apart. Is like being able to take that mindset of like, there's enough to go around for everyone. And if you're able to leverage those relationships for you, like don't create enemies where you don't have to.
Yeah,
there's enough to go around. Like he can help you. If there's a deal that he can't do in your area, he can give it to you. You can give it to him, and creating those connections and creating that network, it's way more of an advantage to you than it is to stick your feet in the ground and make everybody an enemy because they're in the same industries.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But off the back end of that, I do have a question. What are you more driven by? The love for what you do or the competition of like, we have this thing where it's Dave Portnoy's thing, but he does champagne bottles. So if you cross him, if you do something that hurts him or like you're actively going against him, he puts you up on a champagne bottle and just waits for you to fail. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So it's this balance between the goodness and the love for what you do versus that little psycho competitor drive of like, that person said that thing and I'm going to hold on to that. Maybe it wasn't meant to say that, but I'm going to make it in my head.
I know what you're saying. It's so common, you know, the love for the game. I love the game. I love what I do. However, I'm pretty good with mindset. And I think that's another thing for me that really does kind of, I think I'm wired a little bit wrong, maybe, or right. Or maybe it's a straight wire. But, you know, I never really let things boil. You know what I mean? Like if I have a problem with somebody, I call them right away. My only problems I ever have is when people don't call me back and don't let me. That's my biggest pet peeve. Italian.
Yeah.
That's my biggest pet peeve. But I try to deal with the problem right away. And I tell my kids this too. If you ever have anything going on in school or something's wrong, tell me. Let me hear it, because you got to get that stuff out of your head. You got to turn the light switch off. At night, I could turn that light switch off in seconds and go right to sleep, not think of anything at all besides what I'm watching on TV.
Yeah.
That's just, it's the effective communication is like what stuck out to me there. Like the whole point of this show for us is to, we bring in high performers, successful people, and just try to figure out what are like the commonalities, characteristics that across the board, no matter what industry you work in, you can be an athlete, a musician, an artist, a real estate agent, a business owner. What are the commonalities across the board that like shows in everyone? What makes a high performer a high performer? And like we have a working theory that hopefully throughout POG, this whole show will be constantly changing. And we have a theory right now, and one of them is effective communication, which you just hit on. What do you think, like in your opinion, whether it be in real estate, in business, or just in your experience in life, what are the commonalities that you see in just highly successful people?
You know, it is just being driven and focused on something, right? And just continue it to move forward. I think getting things out of their head, you know, if you got a negative mindset, you got to get that out, right? The gym or fitness of some sort, or just getting out and doing something. Morning routine. It all starts with a good morning routine. Mm-hmm. Get them Wheaties in the morning.
He's the morning routine.
Got to get the Wheaties in the morning.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think
that's important to kick off the day. But when it kicks off, you can't sit down. You got to keep going. You know, it's like, you know, when I'm out at events and stuff, we're so involved in charity and events at the club and client, just things that we do, right? And people always ask me, Joe, it must be hard for you. And I'm like, it's not. I just go, show up, shake hands, talk to people. You know, it's not like, oh man, I just sold Mike a house and I'm with my family. I can't talk to them. I'll come over and give you a hug, man. Hey man, what's up? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Meet my wife, my kids, but I can shut it down quickly too. Like, I just want to say, what's up, man? We're going to go sit down for dinner. You got to be able to turn it off too. Because, you know, if I let that conversation go for 15 minutes and I got to talk to 15 more people before I sit down, that's not going to work for the rest of my family, right? So, boom, hey, Mike, good to see you. You know, that's it. You're just shaking hands and, you know, kissing babies, I guess.
Go ahead.
It's fun. It's fun for me to do that.
That is what we like to call motion.
Motion. So that's what I was going to say. So like we have five current characteristics. This is our theory right now. And you touched we've been doing the podcast for an hour. You've hit every one, which is cool to see. Yeah. So it's constant motion. So it's just, like you're always doing something. Like there's no, like you said, you're never sitting down.
Yeah.
Like you can't sit down during the day. You have your morning routine, but then you go. So
that's right.
Constant motion, effective communication, which you just hit on, ruthless delegation. You have 4 assistants working for you, taking off those day-to-day responsibilities so you can focus on high leverage activities. Being okay with where you are, but not accepting it.
Sure.
Which is the biggest one to me, which same thing is like the market crash for you and you're okay with that. You pushed through it, you found a way, and now look where you are.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one? I can't remember right now, but the point being is like, it's cool to see. It's like, we ask these people these questions and it's like, it shines. It's right. Lack of an off button was the lack. Like, well, that's the constant motion. And it's just cool to see, like, we have all these people in from that do different things, different industries. And it's like, you see the commonalities in certain people. It's like, what separates you from everyone else?
Sure.
What makes you successful?
It's interesting because it's almost like everybody's looking at everybody, right? You know, there's like, you're looking at the next steps for you. People are looking at you, right? People are looking at them. People are looking at them. You know, it just goes all the way up the ladder, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, as long as you always have a goal in mind and other people, you see people do things that you like, you grab different things from different people, right? It's almost like you don't have to grab everything from one person. You can grab it from multiple people.
I'm reading Psycho-Cybernetics, which is a really awesome book talking about, it's this plastic surgeon who talks about the idea of the self and how the self creates your reality. So it's like as we grow up, we have these milestone moments where you either were successful or you failed. And that, at least in the book, talks about how that frames your mind long term. Like you're saying, mindset is super important, keeping a positive mindset. Yeah. Some people live in a world where they are failure. And so they just attract this failure energy. Yeah. How do you clear that box? Like let me ask you it this way. Negative thought comes in the brain. How do you identify it, manage it, and release it?
It's gone. It doesn't linger. I try to figure out what it is that's negative and I deal with it right away. I mean, in seconds. Like if something bothers me, it's gone. Somebody said something, or so-and-so did this, or in a situation where something happened, inspector left something on, something broke, seller, something happened here during an inspection, or the buyer expected this piece of furniture to be here after closing and it's not there. You got to just deal with it. So in many, many cases in my lifetime in real estate, I've had to just write a check and just be okay with it. Let it go. Gone. You can't dwell on things. I don't have to buy this piece of furniture. Why should I have to buy this? My client, he says he thinks I should get it, right? But why should I? That's not my responsibility. Well, kind of is. It really is, because it's a problem for him and it's important to him. And every deal counts, right?
Yep.
So you gotta do sometimes you gotta do things you don't want to do to make people happy. But you know what? It's easy because it makes you feel good. It's done. Now that never is in my head again. That ottoman or the table. It's never in my head. It's gone.
It's funny because I think when we grew up in school, I'd be interested to know if you were good in school or not. But like, there's these barometer. Yep. There's these barometers that they quantify you as successful in school, right? None of them come down to what we believe is the best thing, the best traits that you can have as an entrepreneur, as a high performer, creative problem solving. And then this intense, like this ability, like the lack of the off button where it's like a problem pops up. I get excited at how quickly can we solve this problem?
Yeah, that's right.
How creative can we be?
Yeah.
And being in service, right? The client's always right. So you can sit there and mope and be like, well, that's ridiculous. And no, well, why would we have to do that? That's not within our scope. That's not who, or done.
Deal with it.
Off my head, like gone.
It's all day. Problem solving.
How do you have hard conversations when you can't get it done?
You know, there's not too many cases where you can't do something to make it right. It's just it's in discussions with someone or whatever it is, with another realtor or your kid or whatever it is. You gotta just deal with it. And sometimes I would say it doesn't go the way you want it to go, but it's okay. You did what you had to do to make it right. It's just not worth the stress of it because you know it's almost like your mind's a sponge, right? You got a million things going on. You know, school, business, bills, you know, right? You know, they got more bills coming in, you know, the money's not coming in, you got stuff to pay, you know, client didn't show up for your show or whatever it is, right? No one showed, no one called, it stinks, right? But as long as you can just get those things out as best as you can, you're going to have a clear mind. I'm all about clear mind, right? Just do it because there's a lot of different ways too, right? I got to call this client. I got to do a postcard. I got to do an email blast. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this, right? A lot of people focus on I should do this, right? So you have things that are going wrong, right? That are filling up one side of your brain. The other side of your brain are the things that you want to do. And all of a sudden now you want to just lay down because the world is on your shoulders. So I always say, get a notepad out, write those things down. Write down the 10 things that are bothering you and scratch them off the list or tear them off the list and, you know, light them on fire, throw them away, get them out of your head, right? I mean, whatever you got I don't light things on fire, but I'm just saying, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I love that so much because I think my biggest struggle early on in my entrepreneurial career is everything lived up in my head.
Yeah.
And I think that weight of the world feeling when you're young, you don't know how to handle that.
Yeah,
and you start to put this spell on yourself of like, I shouldn't, like the words start coming out. I shouldn't, I can't, I won't. All those like really like spells that you start telling yourself of like, I have this list of things to do. There's no way I can't, or there's no way I can get that done today. There's no way this will work. And then in reality, once you have it written down, you realize, oh, that's a 10-minute task. That's a 5-minute task.
Yeah,
and
what
then
am I
30
worried about
minutes
here?
goes by and all of a sudden my stress is gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Anxiety, most addictions are revolved around escaping a current state of being because there are unaddressed things.
Yeah.
So your ability to sit there and say, I'm going to have the conversation when I need to have it, and I'm going to get the thing done when I need to get it done. That's where this solid mindset comes from.
And for you guys, you're active, right? You got, I know you got a big thing coming up.
Yep.
Is it 100 miles?
So we're doing, there's 4 of us. It's a relay. It's me, Jamie, Ryan, and then another one of our friends. It's 126 miles relay race. So we'll do 32 each.
Starts at 11 a.m. on Friday and we'll be done by like 12 p.m. on Saturday.
So it's a relay race.
Relay.
So who starts?
I do.
Are you happy to start?
I love it. I'm the one that, it's funny, I'm the one that got everybody like into it. Like I was the one that kind of forced everybody's hand to like get into the endurance stuff. So like one day we were sitting in my sauna at my house, and they come by and they're like, you know, talking shit like, hey, we're going to do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah,
and here's this list of like, what was it called?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Nasogi list of like all these things. It was all these crazy endurance things that they wanted to do before the end of the year. I was like,
the Ozaki 8.
The Ozaki 8. I was like, or we could just sign up for this race right here on the spot while everybody's sitting here, and we could just get it done.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing was, I go, all right, I'm booking it. I fake booked it. So everybody for 7 months is like, we're doing this race. And then literally a month ago, I finally signed us up and we got it in. But yeah, it's that's one of those things that we love to do because it's a differentiator. Yeah. It's just like, how can you be different? How, like, what are the stories that you can bring to a conversation?
That's right.
What are some of your favorite, you know, in your 20s, I'm eating shit, but I'm doing it because, like, do you do things for the story, quote unquote?
You know, in a sense, you can, right?
Yeah,
you do things for a story, of course. But it's interesting, this dynamic though with the three, you know, with you three. So are you guys going to be stressed not going first, or do you want to go first and get it done?
No, I'm okay with not.
You're okay. Okay, you're okay with just.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go third. We haven't really decided yet. We just know he's going to go.
Because I would want to be where he's at. Because I want to get it. I want to get it done.
Yep.
I want to get it done.
I want to start. I want to get all the jitters out of my body, and then. Yeah. But the funny thing is, you do 4-mile loop, 5-mile loop, and then you're at the campsite. And then the next person goes. Okay. And so then you do that 24 times.
Now, can you put headsets on when you run or no?
You can.
Yeah. Do you put headsets on?
Sometimes it depends, but for part of it, it's going to be pitch blackout. So you got to be able to watch.
It's going to be 4 a.m.
You got to be able to hear, because it's.
You got to hear. Right?
Hear. So you'll have like a headlamp on. I got to be able to hear.
So I guess part of the race would be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. I never thought I'd be doing this shit, man.
It's almost like things like that. I would look at how I would handle it, and it's like I would have to clear my mind. Anything that's in my mind, you know, calls, things, go and be free and not think about anything other than your feet hitting the ground.
And that's the hardest part for us, is like, we're all gone. So who's here doing any work?
That's right.
You know, and it is tough, but like, you got to be able to take a couple days every once in a while.
The way I would handle that, I'm sure you guys already did. You guys are old souls, by the way. You're young dudes.
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. It's
a compliment.
Is to tell everyone.
Yep.
Leave a message. Hey, we're going to be gone. If you need us, you know, voicemails, whatever it is. We just need a few days.
Yep.
A few of you guys are available.
2 days.
365 days.
24 hours a day. Just give me 48 hours.
A couple hours. And you just have to make sure you could do that. That's all.
That's interesting. I want to talk to you about that, because being in service, it's funny because one of your competitive advantages can be availability.
Yeah.
That's a slippery slope.
It is, yeah.
We're young and we're driven. So how I've always told us, it's like, we're always on. Content is a never ending game.
Yeah.
If I log off my phone for a day, I have to then it's not just, everybody thinks that content is like, oh, we have to create the content. Creating content without context of what's going on in the world is like you're creating blind.
Yeah.
So it's not only when we log off, it's not only we had 20 clients go put out 3 pieces of short form content while I was gone. This person put out a YouTube video, whatever. Then you have to go back and catch up on everything that there is to do. Do you find with real estate, like there's this never ending knowledge base that you kind of have to continually tap into?
Yeah, you do. You're always evolving and doing different things. And it's really all like how you say things to people. For example, you're going to be gone 2 days. The world's going to, 2 days, right? You can't go 2 days. The world's going to collapse, right? However, it's how you talk to people is number one, is how your tone of voice, how you talk to people. And if you give them time, right? Somebody calls in and says, hey, I need to meet with you guys in the morning. You say, hey, listen, I'm so sorry. It's like the 2 days I'm unavailable. I can meet with you on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day I'll make it available. However, they have to be reasonable too. Like you can't call in Ruth's Chris at 4:30 on a Friday night in season and say, I want to come sit down now. Guys, you're being unreasonable.
Yep.
We can get you in here, but it ain't going to be at 4:30. It's going to be at 7:30. And we can't do party at 10. We'll get you 2. We'll get you a spot for 2. You got to be reasonable too. So I think the biggest thing for you guys is being able to tell people no, or we can work with you. Just give us a little time here and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Do you?
It's hard to say no.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, when did you learn that in your career?
I still haven't.
Yeah, yeah.
My assistant always says that I just don't say no to people, and I do say I have said no a few times for sure.
I love the idea of being a mountain mover. Like yesterday, we had a client that hit us up and they asked us for something that legitimately, like, totally unreasonable, like just totally unreasonable. And we sat there and I go, hey guys, we get things done. I love that personality trait in us. I love that we have this ability. I don't want this on my head to think of what happens if we don't get this done.
That's right.
I'd rather just figure it out. And Dana White has this thing where at the UFC, his only rule is you can't tell me no. You just can't tell me no.
Yeah.
You can tell me not now.
That's right.
But you can't tell me no.
Don't tell me. Yeah. Don't tell me no.
And so I believe that with our clients, it's like, I'm never going to tell you no. I'm just going to tell you how realistically can we handle this now. But there's in service, you only have one of you. And we're lucky because we got 4 of us, but like that goes, you know what I mean? Like you can't always be the yes man because then you'll end yourself.
Right. And people do want your advice too. Yeah. Like if a client comes to you and say, I want you to post 15 reels a day and I want you to post them at this time. And you're saying, guys, it's not the proper time to post. Yep. And if we tag 1 million people, you're going to get booted. Nobody's going to look at it because you're going to get penalized for having too many tags.
Yep.
And all these different things, right? So it's important to give your advice to people as well. Like, hey, here's what I think we should do, and do it. But it's hard because not everybody wants to rely on you. They want to have you with them, but they want to move you around. Same thing with me. We have the same career.
So yeah, well, that's why I
in
love
a sense.
Well, that's also why I love working with people in service.
Yeah,
because they get it. They understand what it's like to be on the other end of ridiculous service calls.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking? You know what I mean?
That's
like
right.
Dealing with irrational people, whatever the situation. I do want to tie this back to you. You've been doing this for 25 years. You've been hustling, grinding. Do you have a North Star right now, or are you just loving every day?
I'm just making it happen every day. I love what I do. It's funny because I see a lot of clients of mine, they retire, golf all day, 36 holes, go to dinner at night, right? They can't get enough in, right? They go to dinner with their friends, and the next day is golf. And I don't really kind of want to do that when I retire.
Yeah,
it's kind of seems boring to me. No offense to my golfer clients, but I'd rather do what I'm doing, because it's fun. I'm meeting people. Now, as time goes on, I could be maybe more selective with people. That one I know might be a pain. I might not work with them. I might refer them off to somebody else. But I just like what I do. I love this podcast, by the way. It's fun. I love the podcast. I love the social media, the videos, the marketing.
You're built for it, by the way.
Yeah. Real estate's great.
You are built for it. I think it's funny because we've never been in such a globalized world where it used to be super hyper local. So you'd be a local celebrity. Now, and I told you this when we got coffee the other day, you've been a local celebrity. I've known about you since I was a freshman in college. I was 18 years old, and I knew the name Joe Pavich. So your ability to be that local superstar now is just, now with social media, we've just built a bigger stage.
Sure.
Honestly. And so I'm excited to see your show continue to rock
thank
and
you.
roll.
And I'm having a blast working and selling real estate. The podcast is fun, kid stuff. And I got enough time to go to every baseball game, by the way. Volleyball, I got time, but it's fun for me. I love what I do. But I don't feel like I'm that. It's funny because I hear you say that, and it's like, yeah, that's cool to hear. But do I feel like I'm a local star? Not really.
Well, that's how you feel.
I don't feel that way.
Stay grounded, and it's the constant motion. You're always doing something. You're on the podcast. You're selling real estate. I met you at a networking event. So you've been here for 25 years. You already have your 75 listings. You already have all the sales you need, but you're still going to networking events yourself.
Sure.
Let me ask you this question. I read a post the other day talking about the 3 modern vices. One of them was talking about this always busy mentality and how it's almost in certain respects, it's a jail cell because you're never giving yourself a true
break
moment of assessment.
Yeah.
I think there's people that I know, whether they were professional football players or whatever, they've been working every moment of every day for 20 years. They stop for a half a second. They're like, I don't even know who I am right now.
Yeah.
How have you been able to balance? You need to be constantly moving, but checking in with yourself. Do you vacation? Do you have any mindfulness practices? Like, what do you do?
No mindfulness practices, just getting everything out immediately as fast as I can. I go on vacation. We take trips. We go skiing. We go to New York City. We have that horse property. We go out there. When my wife says we're going out of town, we're going. No problem.
Yeah.
So I do those things, but it's almost like I just love what I do. It doesn't feel like really work to me in a sense. So I just do it and I enjoy it. There's sometimes I've been on trips where, you're still working. Don't get me wrong. There's always an offer that comes in right when the plane goes up, and when I land, the agents call me a few times. Hey, did you get my offer? And I'm like, yeah, I got it. I got it now. I've been on skiing trips where I made an offer to a client going up the gondola.
That's awesome.
I'd come down, I'd ski down, I'd get back on the phone, counter offer, up the gondola, ski down, get to the bottom, execute a deal, and have my assistant send it electronically from here. And it's almost like they don't even know I'm not here because I'm so available for them. And I know you have to know the importance of things. I always tell my team, it's delegating duties, but it's also order of importance. You have to be able to know what's the most important thing and what's the least important thing. And my least important thing, I'll do that last. That don't need to go first. We need to figure it out. If you can delegate duties properly and be able to prioritize things, it does make your job a lot easier for sure.
Do you find that you go on vacation? Do you find that you need to get a couple hours of work in the morning before you can be present on the vacation?
Sometimes, because there's always stuff maybe physically take this key, print these sheets, leave it by the door, let Julie grab them so it's there. Sometimes it's a scuffle. I'm probably not the easiest to leave town with. Yeah, my wife, is probably all right, let's get it going. Yeah. But once I'm on the plane, I'm good.
Because we were talking about this on Monday actually, because with Thanksgiving, we didn't really work much Thursday. The whole world's off Friday. You have the weekend, so it kind of felt like you had a few days off. We didn't do much. Yeah, and it's one day's cool, 2 days it's this is nice, and then by the third day it's just you're reeling. Oh yeah, it's I'm bored. I don't know what to do, and for the whole 3 days you realize the only thing I'm thinking about is work. Yeah. So it's are you even really resting? It's you might as well just keep working. So to me,
get a little done.
Yeah. So to me, it's it would be easier for me to work even on a vacation. I work 2 hours in the morning. Then I know everything's done. I did what I had to do. Now I can just enjoy what I'm doing. And then but I feel if you don't do that, the rest of the day I'm just thinking about what I didn't do this morning. Yeah, you're right. And what I have to do when I come back.
I'll piggyback off of that with a story that I read from Cornelius Vanderbilt. Was one of the biggest, he was one of the biggest entrepreneurs back in the day, one of the richest people in the world. He, in his entire life, because back then it was much different. You can't just jet off to somewhere. This is back in the 20s. You didn't really have that. But he worked pretty much his whole life, stepped out of work for, I think it was a month. He went on a month cruise to whatever, came back, and one of the biggest, pitfalls in his business ever came through. And the story that he was telling, he was I did not take another vacation for the rest of my life. And it's that you have those entrepreneurs and you talk to them and you're
wow, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know that.
You need to recharge for sure.
But then your ability to also be present with your kids, how have you managed to do that? That's something I worry about wanting to have kids.
I don't know. It just happens. Really, a client about 15 years ago said to me, Joe, make sure you spend time with your family. This is before kids, because nobody's ever told me I wish I would have made more money. They would always, they would always say to me, I wish I spent more time with my kids. Everybody's always said that to me. One client really kind of rang the bell, and I thought, I don't want to be that guy, because it's one thing if you're there at a baseball game, but I'm on the phone the whole time. I don't want to do that. I'm going to watch my kid up to bat. I'm going to give him a little, hey man, let's go. I actually coach my son's baseball team as well. My 9-year-old, he's 10 now, but I coach his team. I'm there. Don't get me wrong. I do get on call sometimes, but it's not when he's up to bat, and it ain't when he's in the outfield or making a play. I'm available to see all that. But it's so hard because as you start to scale your business, you guys are young, right? You start building a team of people, you're scared too, because all of a sudden, what if things don't work as well? I'm going to have a team of people. We have more employees. You don't want to have 50 employees and things go south, right? Everybody's scared of scaling, right?
Yep.
However, you know, if you scale appropriately, you're not going to fail. You just can't overdo it and grab too much.
My favorite quote that I got from a mentor was 80% done by somebody else is 100% fucking awesome. And I was like,
That's great.
Yeah, that was
I like that.
I was like, all right, you know what? Because when I started the business with my business partner, Jason, 2022, we got to a point where I was like, I don't know that we could take on any more work. Like I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. And the biggest thing for me was trust. And so that's why we built the team that we built, because it's like we've all been pretty much since college working together nonstop.
Yeah,
so the ability to then delegate and trust that they're going to treat it like I would,
of course,
is like the hardest thing. How do you establish a good culture?
Well, I'll tell you, man, it's not easy to do what we do every single day. That's for sure. You know, just being around, being the guy, you know, being a dad, right? You know, being the person that's going to go 100% with work and let my kids follow me through, you know, what I do, seeing how I work with people, right? How I talk to people. Somebody asked me recently, is Joe I think it was the last podcast I was on. Does he ever get mad? Does Joe ever get mad? No, I don't. I don't usually get too mad. You know, don't get me wrong. I get frustrated.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be around when that happens. The steam does come out for sure, but it's all good. You know, as long as you can get rid of that energy and move forward. But
what do you do to get rid of it?
Fitness, up early, write stuff down on paper. When you work out at the gym, I mean, I think we kind of touched on it earlier, and I was going to tell you about my philosophy is like when you go to the gym, right? You guys are blowing steam, literally blowing steam, running 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
When you go to the gym, it's like you're working out to also work out your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that tough deal or that whatever, you know, when you're lifting something, you know, in my mind, I'm like, you know, I'm pushing harder. And when I leave the gym, I'm usually pretty good, you know, and you just hope that the day, you know, goes on like that throughout. And any problem that comes up, you got to be able to deal with it. That's all.
I think that too is like, it goes into like doing those hard things like the races, or if, you know, a lot of people take ice baths now and do those things. Like if you can set things up in your life that, you know, that's going to be the hardest thing you did today.
That's right.
Everything else is easier. If you woke up at 6 a.m. and got like this morning, it's cold as fuck. You woke up this morning and we bailed on it. Like, if you got in the ice bath today, that would have been the hardest thing I did today. And no matter what bullshit comes at us, like, it's not that bad.
I'd rather have done this than that.
Well, I would rather choose my heart, because it's like we being in service, your phone dictates how you feeling in the day, to be honest with you.
Every time I get a ding, like my stomach just fucking to the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that 5:30 till whenever that phone starts buzzing, like I got to do something. Because if I just am reactive to my day, that first client text that comes through that seems like it's a world-ending problem, it becomes the mountain that is honestly just a molehill. If I got my 5 miles in before I stepped up to the plate of like, oh, is this a real problem, or am I just making?
That's right. Yeah, these are not problems. We could deal with this. It's not a big deal. You got to make a big deal of something small, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mountain out of a molehill.
Yep.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Well, I could literally do this for another hour and a half. Yeah. But my last question for you: what does grit mean to you?
Not the company.
Not word. Yes, the word grit.
We've had that issue in the past.
The word grit. What does the word grit mean to me? You know, just a rough grind. You know what I mean? The guys are going to get it done for you. Push through. We'll do whatever it takes to make it happen for you. Grit. You know, football. Grit. You know, dirt. You know, baseball. You know, I mean, just boys that'll make it happen.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is that the image?
It's your definition. Yeah, it's your definition. We ask everyone that, just like to get your take. But where can people support you? How can they support you? Besides, obviously, one of the new best podcasts out, the Joe Pavich Show.
Thank you, guys. I'm easy to reach. You know, cell phone 239-910-0304. YouTube, Spotify,
It's it.
Spotify,
Apple,
YouTube.
website, Google, wherever.
If you're going down
one call
41,
away.
If you're going down 41, look on the right-hand side, you'll see him.
All phone calls go right to this guy right here. Yeah. It's no 1-800 numbers, dial 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just call me directly.
Before we wrap up, what's funny about that is, so when we met, about a month ago, a few weeks ago at a networking event, we were just talking about, we exchanged numbers, and he called himself on my phone just to exchange contacts. And like that was the night we went shark fishing, so I was out, and he didn't realize that it was my number that he called, so he thought it was a missed call. Called me back twice, like 10:30. Left a few voice. I was like, "Hey, it's Joe Pavich." He's like, "I'm just giving you a ring back." I called him back. I was like, "Going after those leads, huh?"
That's exactly right.
Yeah, always working.
You got to just make it happen. Do everything.
happen.
Make
Good
it
luck
happen.
to you guys, man. You got a good thing going. Like I said, old souls.
Thank you.
Because you are.
Appreciate that.
Not many people are wired the way you are. But the biggest thing is you can't look at what other people are doing and how they're doing it. You got to do it your way, deal by deal. Most people would love the problem you guys had. Too much business, right? You're having to turn down people and everything else, grabbing everything. It's good now. I mean, take the right people, build it, scale it. When it gets bigger, get more people.
I think I know.
what
I
it's
think
all
I know
about.
someone. I think I know
Yeah.
someone.
All right,
It's been
Joe,
real fun, guys. This is
Thank you,
good.
man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what time it is, but I can hang with you guys all day.
Literally.
welcome to stay.
Get lunch,
Yep.
order some Jimmy John's. Let's get this.
All right,
Thanks
appreciate
again,
it.
guys.